All right, diving right in today, we're looking at the milestones that mark how Baha'i communities develop. The source material you gave me lays out this framework from the Universal House of Justice. It's sort of a guide to help Baha'i communities around the world, progress toward goals like growth, like social transformation, and contributing, to making society better. So these milestones are kind of like markers of a community's like maturity and achievements, collectively. It's fascinating.
What I think is particularly interesting about it is how it goes beyond just increasing the number of Baha'is.
Right.
It's really about the capacity of the community to like apply Baha'u'llah's teachings to affect real change in the world.
So it's not just quantity, it's quality.
Exactly.
And impact. Now, the source outlines 3 major milestones.
Okay.
The first one is the emergence of a program of growth. Sounds like, to me, it sounds like watching a seed sprout, full of potential.
That's a good way to put it. And this sprouting happens in what's called a cluster.
Okay.
And you can kind of think of it as like a geographic area where people are united by a shared purpose to like work together to bring about this vision of growth. So within a neighborhood or a town, you might have a cluster of Baha'is working together.
Yeah, that emphasis on collaboration right from the start.
Right.
So what are some of the key elements that go into reaching this first milestone, this sprouting phase?
Well, it starts with a dedicated core group of individuals who are committed to the Baha'i teachings, and they're eager to share them. And they'll come together and establish regular study circles where people can like delve into the writings of Baha'u'lláh and explore what those teachings mean for their lives.
Those study circles are pretty powerful, I bet. A place for deep learning and reflection.
Yeah, they definitely are. And in addition to these study circles, they hold devotional gatherings, and these are open to everyone. And it's a space to connect with that spiritual aspect of the Baha'i faith.
Right.
To pray, to sing, and to just be in a spirit of unity.
So it's not just intellectual understanding, it's about nurturing the soul, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's about creating a vibrant spiritual life within the community.
Right.
And importantly, these activities aren't just for those who already identify as Baha'is.
Right.
It's about opening the doors and inviting everyone to come, to participate, to learn and connect.
It sounds like this first milestone is really about laying the foundation, establishing that core group, creating spaces for spiritual growth, and extending a welcoming hand to the community.
Right.
How can we tell if a community has reached this first milestone, this sprouting phase? What are the signs?
Well, one clear indicator is the emergence of a plan.
Okay.
A plan for growth. It's not just like a vague idea. It's a concrete roadmap with like specific goals and strategies for how to achieve them. And you'd also see people participating consistently in these core activities, people showing up for the study circles and devotional gatherings. But maybe the most telling sign is an observable increase in the number of people who want to participate.
So that little seed we were talking about has taken root. It's starting to show signs of life. Now, once a community lays that foundation, what happens next?
Well, that takes us to milestone 2, right?
Yeah.
This one's called the Intensive Program of Growth, or IPG.
Right.
The name itself suggests things are going to get a lot more dynamic.
Yeah.
What shifts as a community moves from, that initial sprouting phase into this more intensive stage?
I think the energy really does shift. At this stage, community activities become more sustained. And intensified. There's a real emphasis on systematizing things. So not just having these activities now and then, but making sure that they happen. Okay, so things are getting more structured, more organized, but how does that actually work practically? Our source mentions cycles of growth. Can you break down what that means for those of us who might not be familiar with that term?
Sure. Imagine like a focused burst of activity. Lasting maybe 3-4 months. And during that time, the community comes together and puts their plan into action and focuses on some specific goals. Like maybe it's deepening their understanding or reaching out to new people, or maybe it's serving their neighborhood in some way. That's what we call the action phase. But it's not just about doing. It's also about reflecting. So after that intensive period, there's a time to like step back and look at what worked well and what needs to be improved. And then, and then the community comes together to consult. to share their insights and decide on the next steps.
Okay, so it's a real dynamic process. Action, reflection, and then consultation, constantly learning, adapting. And the source also mentions that this stage involves training.
Yes, absolutely.
What does that look like?
So remember how we talked about that core group?
Yeah.
Well, now it's about expanding that core group, equipping more people with the skills they need to effectively, lead activities and facilitate study circles and contribute to the growth of the community.
Yeah.
And this training happens through the Rui Institute.
Okay. And what is, can you tell me a little more about what the Rui Institute is? What kind of training?
Sure. The Rui Institute is a global program.
Okay.
And its courses are designed to be very accessible and easy to apply. Mm-hmm. They use a simple and interactive approach that really empowers individuals to take ownership of their learning. You don't need any prior knowledge or experience to participate.
So it sounds like the Rui Institute plays a big role in building capacity, making sure that there are enough, skilled individuals to guide the growth.
That's exactly right. And it's not just about, leading activities. It's also about deepening your personal understanding of the Baha'i teachings and developing the skills to share those teachings with others.
So it's personal growth and community building at the same time.
Right.
Now, we've talked about these cycles of growth, the Rui Institute, and, this intensification of community activity. What are some of the tangible things that we might actually see happening in a community that's reached this second milestone, this IPG stage?
You'd see a lot more going on. Mm-hmm. Instead of just, a handful of individuals, you'd probably find a larger group, actively involved in these different activities.
Right.
The cycles of activity, reflection, consultation would be more well established. They'd be running smoothly. And you'd probably see a greater level of collaboration between the Baha'i community and the larger community.
So it's about expanding outward, connecting with the wider community.
Exactly. And all of this would be guided by a body, sometimes called the Area Teaching Committee.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has a slightly different name.
Okay.
But this committee is elected from within the community. Mm-hmm. And it plays a vital role in coordinating these activities, providing support, and making sure that things are moving in the right direction.
The Area Teaching Committee is kind of like the conductor of an orchestra then.
That's a good analogy.
Making sure everyone's playing in harmony.
They're not dictating what should happen.
Right.
But they're facilitating and supporting.
It sounds like reaching this second milestone involves a real increase in capacity.
Yeah.
And impact.
Right.
It's exciting to think about the kind of energy and momentum a community can generate at this stage.
It is exciting.
Now, before we go on to the third milestone, which I know has a really intriguing name, I want to touch on one more thing.
Okay.
The source mentions home visits and outreach efforts during this IPG stage. What role do those play in a community's development?
Home visits are all about building deeper connections among individuals.
Okay.
They provide a setting for learning and sharing that's much more intimate. You can explore the Baha'i writings together, share your personal experiences, and support each other on your spiritual journeys.
So it's about building those relationships, fostering a sense of community that goes beyond just those formal activities.
Exactly. And then outreach efforts are all about reaching out to those who might not, otherwise be exposed to the Baha'i faith.
Right.
So this could involve hosting public talks or participating in interfaith events. Or just, talking to people in your everyday life.
So expanding the circle.
Exactly. It's about sharing the joy, the insights, and the power of Baha'u'llah's message with as many people as possible.
I can see how home visits and outreach efforts, they play a key role in nurturing the growth and expansion. And I'm really curious about this third milestone.
Yeah, me too.
Sustained movement of entry by troops.
Yeah.
The name itself, it evokes this sense of scale and collective action.
It really does.
It sounds like things are reaching a whole new level.
They are. This milestone represents a stage where the community's growth becomes not just steady, but robust and self-sustaining.
Okay.
Imagine a tree that's not just producing fruit, but producing abundant fruit year after year.
So it's about moving beyond simply attracting new people.
Right.
It's about creating a system where large numbers of people are constantly drawn to the Baha'i faith. What does it mean for people to enter by troops?
Well, it means that, you have a collective movement of people from all walks of life, embracing the teachings of Bahá'u'lláh,
right,
and joining the Baha'i community. And the emphasis is on welcoming everybody, fostering an inclusive environment where people from different backgrounds, beliefs, social groups, they feel a sense of belonging and purpose.
That idea of inclusivity, it feels really important, especially in today's world.
It is.
It's about creating that space where everyone feels valued and respected.
Absolutely. And it's not just about tolerance.
Right.
It's about celebrating the richness, the beauty that diversity brings.
It's amazing to think about how a community manages that kind of large-scale growth.
Yeah.
How does a group stay together with so many new people coming in?
Well, that's where you really need strong local leadership.
Okay.
And that's where the local spiritual assemblies come in.
Okay.
And they're elected governing bodies within the Baha'i faith. As the community grows, the spiritual assembly needs to grow too.
So they're in charge of steering the ship.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. They're the ones who, guide and manage the community's growth. And they foster a spirit of unity and collaboration. And they make sure that, the principles of the Baha'i faith are at the heart of everything that's happening.
So they're not just administrators, they're spiritual shepherds in a way.
It is a big responsibility.
It is.
But they're not alone.
Right.
They get guidance and support from institutions at the national and international levels, ensuring that the community's development is aligned with the overall goals.
So it's a collective effort, with individuals, local institutions, national bodies, all working together to nurture the growth and flourishing.
Exactly.
Okay, what are some of the telltale signs? What are some of the telltale signs that a community has reached this third milestone? What makes it different?
Well, one of the most obvious signs is sustained growth in both the quantity and the quality of activities. So you would see a really vibrant and diverse array of programs, initiatives,
right,
catering to the needs and the interests of a wide range of people. You would see a strong sense of purpose, collective action.
Right.
Individuals, wanting to give their time and their talents and their resources.
So again, it's not just about the numbers.
Oh, exactly.
It's about how deep that engagement is and the level of commitment.
Right. You'd also see the local spiritual assemblies and other institutions effectively mobilizing the community to achieve its goals.
Okay.
This would involve, clear communication, transparent decision-making, and a spirit of collaboration. But I think maybe even more importantly, you'd see a culture of learning and service within the community.
And what do you mean by a culture of learning and service?
It's an environment where individuals are encouraged to constantly, deepen their understanding of the Baha'i teachings, to reflect on their own spiritual growth, and to apply what they learn to their lives.
So it's a community that's constantly striving to learn and grow and contribute. It's not just about maintaining the status quo.
Exactly.
It's about constant progress and evolution. It's really inspiring to see how these three milestones build on one another, leading to greater levels of participation, capacity, and ultimately impact.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But how does a community actually move from one milestone to the next? Is there a secret formula?
Well, there's no secret formula, but there are definitely some essential ingredients. I think the most important one is a deep commitment to the principles of the Baha'i faith.
So it's not just about, techniques or strategies. It's about aligning your actions with a set of spiritual values.
Exactly. It's about embodying those principles of unity and love and justice and service in everything you do.
But beyond that overarching commitment, are there any specific actions or practices that help communities progress?
Yeah. Our source highlights several key areas to focus on. One of the most crucial is strengthening the consultation and planning processes.
I can see how that would be essential. You need, everyone to be on the same page, working together towards a common goal.
Exactly. And that involves, honestly assessing where the community is at, what are its strengths, what are its challenges.
Right.
Developing a clear vision for the future and creating a roadmap with concrete steps for how to move forward. Yeah. And it's not just about having a plan.
Yeah.
It's about engaging in meaningful consultation where everybody's voice is heard and decisions are made collectively.
So it's not a top-down approach. It's about harnessing the collective wisdom and the energy of the community.
Exactly.
What other key actions does our source highlight?
Well, we already touched on this, but capacity building through training is absolutely crucial.
So making sure there are enough people who can lead and facilitate, these activities.
Exactly. And this is where the Rui Institute plays such an important role, providing training to those who want to serve as tutors, animators, children's class teachers, and so on.
So it's about equipping people with the tools that they need to contribute to the growth and flourishing.
Alongside training, our source also talks about the importance of outreach and inclusion.
Making sure everyone feels welcome and valued regardless of their background.
Yes. And this means actively reaching out to diverse populations and creating spaces where everyone feels comfortable participating. It's about celebrating differences and building bridges of understanding.
So again, it's not about just avoiding exclusion. It's about actively creating a culture of inclusion.
Exactly. And then there's fostering a spirit of service and sacrifice.
This is about going beyond self-interest.
Yeah. It's about inspiring individuals to contribute their time, their energy, their talents to the betterment of the community and the world.
It's amazing to think about what's possible when you have a whole community united by that spirit of service.
It is. It's truly transformative. And finally, we need to talk about the crucial element of learning through action and reflection.
So again, it's not just about doing things. It's about constantly evaluating and adapting.
Precisely. Communities need to regularly look at their progress and see what's working well and what could be improved and adjust their strategies accordingly. It's essential.
It's like a feedback loop.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about seeing every experience, every success, every challenge as an opportunity for learning and growth.
So moving through these milestones, it requires commitment to the Baha'i principles. And it requires this willingness to constantly learn, adapt, and change your approach.
Right.
Now, how do we measure this progress? How do we know if a community's on track?
Well, that's a great question. Let's talk about the ways that we assess a community's progress.
Yeah.
There are several methods. First, there are assessments done by local institutions like that area teaching committee.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are really close to the community. They're watching how it develops. They provide feedback and support.
So it's like having a built-in feedback mechanism.
Exactly. And then you also have observations.
Yeah.
From individuals who serve on the auxiliary board.
Can you explain who those people are? I'm guessing our listeners might not be familiar with that.
Right. Auxiliary board members are appointed by continental counselors, who in turn represent the Universal House of Justice.
Okay.
They act as liaisons between the local communities and the national Baha'i institutions.
Right.
They'll visit communities, observe activities, offer guidance, and provide kind of a broader perspective on the community's progress.
So they're like mentors or advisors, offering support and encouragement along the way.
Now, in addition to those qualitative assessments, we also have more tangible things we can track.
Yeah.
We can look at the number of people participating in activities, how regularly the cycles of growth are happening and what impact they're having. And we can look at the degree to which diverse populations are being integrated into the community.
So numbers can tell a powerful story.
Yeah.
When it comes to measuring progress, is there anything else that can help?
An essential part of the assessment process is consultation with higher-level institutions, like the local or national spiritual assembly.
Right.
That they can give really valuable insights and guidance based on their broader perspective and experience.
So it's a collaborative effort, involving both local and national perspectives.
Exactly.
It's not about checking boxes. It's about making sure communities are aligned with the overall goals of the Baha'i faith.
Right.
And that they're getting the support they need.
Exactly. It's about working together to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, materially and spiritually.
I love that. It feels like we've covered so much already, but I know there's still a lot more to explore.
There is.
We'll be right back after a short.
It's amazing how those assessments, the qualitative stuff and the quantitative data, they come together to show us the community's progress.
Yeah, like a tapestry, different threads weaving a whole picture. But are these milestones, is it always a smooth ride from one to the next? Or do communities, take a step back sometimes or maybe hit a plateau?
That's a really good question. And it shows how organic this process really is. The milestones are a helpful framework, but community development, it rarely goes in a straight line.
Right.
There'll be times of fast progress and then periods where things kind of settle. And maybe even times where it feels like things aren't moving. Each community's got its own, its own story.
So it's less like climbing a ladder,
Right.
More like, navigating a winding path. Twists and turns. But you're still going up.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And like navigating any path, it takes patience, perseverance, and being willing to adapt.
Speaking of adapting, our source focuses on the first 3 milestones.
Right.
But it kind of hints that there are even higher levels beyond these.
Yeah.
What's up there? What's beyond the sustained movement of entry by troops?
It's true. The source doesn't really define those higher milestones.
Yeah.
But it does talk about this ongoing process of growth, transformation, a constant striving for more unity, more understanding, and service.
So what would these higher stages look like? How are they different?
Imagine a community where the Baha'i teachings are so deeply woven into society that they're not even seen as separate anymore. Where principles like unity, justice, equality, they're not just ideals, they're just how things are.
It's a beautiful picture. These communities, they become like beacons,
yeah,
showing the power of Baha'u'llah's message, not just among themselves, but in the whole world.
Exactly. They become these forces for positive change, inspiring others, making things better for everyone.
Inspiring to think about communities reaching those levels. But let's talk about what this means for everyone, not just Baha'is. Why should they care? What's the relevance?
That's a really important point. These principles, these ideas, they can be used in so many ways. It doesn't matter if you're part of a faith community, a neighborhood group, a nonprofit, or, any group working toward a goal. There's something here.
Like what? What can someone take away from this, no matter their background?
Well, this model is really intentional about growth. It's not just hoping. It's about a clear vision, specific goals, and how to reach them.
It's going beyond just good intentions. It's actually having a plan to succeed.
Right. And that means clear structures for learning, taking action, a culture of service, and working together, and constantly checking if you're on the right track.
Yeah.
These are principles anyone can use.
That'd be valuable anywhere. What else stands out?
Inclusivity. Welcoming everyone. That's really important, and it applies everywhere.
Yeah, we need that so much, especially today.
It's not just about putting up with differences.
Yeah.
It's about actively looking for different perspectives and using that to be richer and come up with new things. It's about celebrating what makes us human and also what makes us unique.
So it's more than tolerance. It's truly embracing diversity.
Exactly. And another key takeaway is the focus on consultation and working together. The Baha'i faith believes in making decisions together and using different voices to find solutions.
It's not about one person leading. It's about everyone getting involved and sharing their ideas, using everyone's wisdom.
Exactly. And this way of consulting, it can be so helpful in any group. It helps people feel like they're part of it. It encourages support and often leads to better, longer-lasting solutions.
It's amazing how these Baha'i community principles can work in so many ways. It's like a toolkit for building better, more inclusive, more effective communities, period. All these groups out there trying to do good in the world, could they use these principles?
I think so. Whether it's about climate change, social justice, or just making your neighborhood better, these principles can help.
It's exciting to think about the positive change that could happen if more groups use these ideas.
And it all starts with each person. We can all make a difference, be a force for good in our communities and in the world.
We're not just watching, we're actively shaping the future.
Exactly. And by working together, using these principles of unity, love, service, we can make the world better, reflecting what's best in us.
I love that message of hope and empowerment. But let's be real, building communities isn't always easy. There are going to be bumps in the road. What are some things communities might struggle with as they're trying to go through these milestones? What can slow them down?
One thing is just the way things have always been done. Those old patterns, habits.
It's hard to break free from that, to start thinking and doing things in new ways.
Right. And it's especially tough in communities that have been around a long time. They have their set ways. Letting go is hard, even if those ways aren't working anymore.
Like turning a big ship. Takes time, effort, and a real decision to change course.
Exactly. Another challenge is always having to adapt. The world's always changing, and communities need to respond to new things, new problems, new opportunities as they come up.
Can't just have a plan and stick to it no matter what. Got to be flexible, adjust as things change.
Exactly. That means being willing to try things out, learn from mistakes, and constantly improve. It's that growth mindset, seeing every challenge as a chance to learn and grow.
Good reminder that growth isn't the finish line, it's the whole journey. What other obstacles are there?
Well, sometimes there are divisions within the community itself.
Disagreements, tensions, things that can hold back progress and make people feel divided. Makes sense. Even when everyone wants the same thing, there are going to be different opinions, ways of doing things, different personalities.
Exactly. And in those times, knowing how to consult and resolve conflict is really important. It's about building a culture where it's okay to have differences, where people can talk openly and honestly, and where everyone feels heard.
That foundation of unity is key to getting through disagreements and hard times. Anything else?
One more challenge is finding that balance between growing as a community and reaching out to the wider world.
So strengthening things inside while also connecting with everyone else.
Exactly. You want a strong community where people feel like they belong, but you also want to share the Baha'i teachings with everyone.
It's like having a garden. You take care of it, you help it grow, but you also want to share the flowers, the beauty of it, with others.
That's a great way to put it. It shows that growing inward and reaching outward, they go together. A strong community can do more in the world, and by being out in the world, the community gets stronger and more inspired.
It all comes full circle, reminds us that building these communities, it's a journey full of highs and lows and chances to grow.
It is, and it's a journey worth taking.
This has been great. We've covered so much. The milestones, the principles behind them, the challenges, and what it all means for everyone, not just Baha'is. We even got a sneak peek at those higher stages of development, but I feel like we've just started.
There's always more to learn.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final part of our deep dive, where we wrap it all up and think about what we've discovered.
Stay with us. We're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive. We've been through the milestones, the principles, and even the challenges along the way.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has. But before we let you go, I want to take a step back. We've talked about these milestones as steps in a process, but what's the end goal? Where is all this effort leading? Well, Baha'i community development is ultimately about creating a world where every single person can thrive, materially, spiritually, socially. It's about building a society based on the oneness of humanity, where justice, unity, love are the guiding principles.
That's a powerful vision, a world that reflects the best of what we can be.
Exactly. It might sound like a big dream, but it starts small. It starts with people coming together, studying the Baha'i writings, putting those principles into practice, building those vibrant communities that shine brightly in their neighborhoods and beyond.
It reminds us that even little things we do can create a ripple effect, part of a bigger movement for good.
That's exactly what's so inspiring about this Baha'i model. It's not just about making things better for Baha'is, it's about making the world better for everybody.
And what I find so hopeful is that these principles we've talked about, consultation, inclusivity, service, lifelong learning, these aren't just for Baha'is.
Right, they're not. These are things anyone can use, regardless of their background or beliefs.
So faith community, neighborhood group, nonprofit, any group working together towards something good, there's something here for you.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, that's what I really hope people take away. You don't have to be a Baha'i to find this model inspiring.
Right. It's about seeing these principles, their beauty, their potential, and asking yourself, how can I use these in my own life? How can I help build a world that's more just, more unified, more loving?
That's the question we should all be asking. And if enough of us take these principles to heart, I truly believe we can create a future full of hope and full of possibility.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. But as you said, there's always more to explore. And we definitely don't want the conversation to end here.
Not at all.
We want to hear what you think. What stood out to you? What new things did you learn? How could you use these principles in your own life, in your community?
You can find us on social media or reach out to your local Baha'i community and keep the conversation going.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to make the world a better place. A more beautiful, more just place.